Hi and welcome to the Latvian Football Podcast. Today we are in a very special occasion. We are at home of Metta, who very kindly invited us to do our podcast here. It's fantastic. You can see all the wonderful trophies. Metta, of course, is a very interesting case of a club in the Virsliga and in Latvia, an academy system, full height, full pyramid length, breadth, depth, whatever you want to use as a dimension.
They cover all areas of football,
yes,
from all ages.
From children all the way up to Virsliga, with a philosophy to raise and develop Latvian players. And so it's just fantastic. I think it's a great initiative, great project, and it's wonderful to be here to record our episode on what's happened in Virsliga thus far since last we spoke.
Yeah, it's been an exciting final finish to the league so far. There has been a lot happening. There's been an international break which created a lot of talking points. There's been some club problems. There's been some manager changes. There's been players suddenly coming into form right at the end, and a few injuries as well. So yeah, plenty of action. Yeah,
it's 4 match days left to go until end of season. Some things are more settled than others, but there's still many questions that seek answers to them, and we'll cover these things today as best we can.
Yeah, I guess that leads us on to what's happened in the league so far, and what was the biggest news in this at the end of summer or start of autumn.
Well, what do you think was the biggest news? Maybe not the most unpredictable news, but
I think the biggest news was the Europa League. But if you're looking at the Virsliga, probably the sudden changes at Riga FC were quite significant.
Sudden being in quotes, I think.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I think after what happened in a press conference with Simo pretty much saying directly he didn't select his starting 11, you could start seeing some cracks appear.
Yeah, so Riga FC parted ways with the Finnish head coach Simo Valakari, who has made his way to Scotland, to St. Johnstone in Perth, and is replaced by his assistant coach. None of the coaching staff went with him, so it's just him all by himself. So Marek Zundners, who was previously at Liepaja, is now in charge of Riga FC. We don't know who is going to take over for Marek, who is the caretaker manager, basically. But there are some rumors circulating of a Spanish specialist for next season, although nothing is concrete as of yet.
There would be a logical aim of, or it would be a logical thing to bring in a Spaniard, particularly with the number of Spanish speakers and Southern American players at the moment. So that could be interesting for the league.
It could be interesting. I don't know how compatible Spanish football is with Latvian football, but it would be interesting to see, and as well as how many of the Spanish-speaking players remain is an open question, of course.
Yeah, but Riga do have some very technical players, and Spanish football is one of the more technical leagues as well. So we'll see, but as you say, it's a rumour, so anything could happen. But I think Simo really will be missed. He was a character. He wasn't the most successful Riga manager. His average game points were 2.25. If you compare that to Tomislav Stipic, Tomislav's points were 2.3. So he was a more successful manager. He didn't play as many games. He didn't last as long as Tomislav Stipic, and he didn't win as many trophies. Well, they won equal amounts of trophies, the Cup for Stipic and the Super Cup. But I think Tomislav Stipic has been the more successful of the two, if you compare.
He has, even if you look at relative performance to their main rivals, RFS. Tomislav Stipic lost Virsliga last year by a point, which arguably was more unlucky than anything else. Simo Valakari has lost Virsliga already for quite some time.
Yeah,
maybe not mathematically, but realistically.
I think he lost the league at Tukums, basically. That was a big one, and a couple of draws as well. But yeah.
Well, Simo leaves Latvia with the Super Cup, which I think is not worth as much as Latvian Cup, and a bronze, which he's gotten last year with Auda.
Yeah. So I mean, he left with an all right record, but it's been a disappointing season for Riga FC, who have completely dropped points and haven't been able to compete with RFS.
Yeah. Well, money doesn't buy everything in football. Very obviously, Riga FC have 4 times the budget of RFS, and but 4 times less stability. At least. So
and talking about stability, if you look at Riga FC, they've gone through 19 managers, including caretakers, since January 2018 to October 2024. So that's 19 managers in around 6 years.
And they've gone through 9 managers, if we're counting this latest change, while Viktor Smoros of RFS was in charge of RFS.
Yeah. Okay, so that's an interesting one. So the average, based on this statistic, over a 6-year period, the average Riga FC manager stays in a job for 143 days. So I'm not even sure it's worth. I mean, if you're coming to Riga FC, maybe just check into a hotel.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at least they know what the deal is about, and now they have this bit of a pathway via Auda. You first get to coach Auda, and then you become coach.
Yeah.
FC.
So I guess you've got a second. You've got 2 seasons.
Yeah, definitely don't take out a mortgage. I think that's
don't do the mortgage thing. Whereas, like, if whatever happens wherever RFS go, you might be able to get a mortgage there.
You might raise your kids.
Yeah,
and have them through school.
Just a quick comparison on typical days as managers. Pep Guardiola, he's been at Manchester City for 3,000 days as well. But some teams do change managers more than once. Chelsea changed 3 managers in 2023. Rijeka in Croatia have changed managers 4 times in 1 season. And Serie A, the table, are the highest with 220 different managerial stints in the past 10 years. So Riga FC aren't all that bad, but if you look at the most successful clubs, they typically stick to managers for a certain period of time.
Yeah, and that makes sense. You need time for the team to gel, to accentuate and articulate your coaching philosophy, and so on and so forth, especially if you're a foreign manager coming in.
Yeah, but I think that speaks a lot about the Riga board at the moment. They seem to prioritise on selecting players and player placement compared to building up the club culture, the fan base, and the ability to sell tickets. Yeah. Like, it's just doesn't feel like a well-run club at the moment with everything going on.
Yeah,
so
obviously we don't know the behind the scenes of Riga FC, but I feel like their cup performance is a bit of a cherry on top in terms of highlighting the various issues that the club has. They lost Latvian Cup in semi-final to RFS the other day, but not RFS first squad, and arguably not RFS second squad either. It was basically a third/reserve team that knocked them out 2-1 at LNK Sports Parks.
And I guess we'll move on to that. My problem is that RFS have created a fan culture, a real community, and they are building something. They're building a brand, RFS. They're creating unity, a community, and you just get the complete opposite with what's happening in Riga FC. But we'll see what happens, and hopefully they can start to develop that Riga a little bit more. I mean, wishing Simo all the best of luck in Perthshire. I know Perth quite well. I've spent quite a lot of time in that area. It's not far from the Highlands, the town itself, not quite as glamorous as Riga. It's a bit of a dive, but yeah, good luck to St Johnstone FC.
Yeah. Speaking of other clubs that build, or rather not build, community around themselves, Liepaja were also knocked out of the cup together with Riga FC. They were knocked out by Auda. So the final of Latvian Cup on the 30th of October is now going to be a replay of 2 years ago, RFS versus Auda. This should be a very, very interesting game. We'll see what Viktor Smoros chooses as his lineup, given the other competitions that are maybe more or different level of importance to Latvian Cup. But Auda are formidable now under Zoran Zelkovic. They've really lived up to their potential, and they are a very, very exciting squad at the moment indeed.
They are, but they've dropped form in the past 2-3 games. They lost to Liepaja, although they completely outplayed them, outclassed them in the Cup semi-final. They lost to Liepaja 3-0 in Liepaja. I think they also drew recently as well, so they're a little bit off form, but with their experience in Europe this season and the players that they have, I think they could challenge. Well, hopefully they will challenge RFS, and they've got players like Oscar Rubinez who's really coming to form at the moment, and also Tyro. He had a hat trick as well in the semi-final. But yeah, hopefully they'll fix their form and get back on track.
Yeah. Last time the two teams met, Auda won 1-0, although right now very few of those players are still with the club.
Yeah, and that said, Auda did beat Valmiera away 3-2 after Valmiera got a player sent off. So I think there's definitely going to be a more exciting battle hopefully next season in the top four from that side.
Well, if we're speaking about next season and Valmiera in one sentence, then I would not be so confident about anything at this point.
Well, I guess we'll go on to Valmiera in a second. But overall, now the Cup final, 30th of October, it was quite an exciting Cup this year. How did you find it, the Latvian Cup?
Same as usual.
Same as usual.
Always interesting. Cups are always interesting.
Yeah. It was nice to see PPK and that match experience, good and bad, the good, the bad, the ugly, in the quarterfinal, and also AFA Olaine managed to get to the quarterfinals as well. So hopefully we can see lower league teams get to the semi-finals next year. But yeah, it's good to see different sides of Latvian football as well with that cup.
Yeah, last year and the year before that, I think it was a little bit more exciting in respect of lower level teams going further. This year we ended up with basically traditional top four battling it out for a place in the final, which is a little bit less exciting. But I mean, Auda RFS with Riga RFS in semi-finals, that was pretty good.
And your predictions, who's going to win the cup?
I think RFS are going to take the cup this year.
You think RFS are going to take the cup?
They've played in a cup final every year for the last 4 years. And I just think they might be fed up with losing.
Yeah, my gut says RFS, but my heart, I think Auda can do it. I think they've got the players to do it. I think they can step up and they can beat RFS. If they're really switched on, they're really hungry, they're motivated, Auda can do it. So my gut says RFS because of what's happened this season. My heart says, come on Auda, come and win the cup.
Yeah, and given where we are, I'm definitely saying, let's go RFS.
Yeah, we might get beaten up, but there's a big picture of the ultras next to us as well. So
how dare you cheer for Auda and Metta?
I'm a neutral. I don't think there's any beef between Metta and Valmiera, so I should be all right.
No, but there is between Metta and Auda.
There's but I mean, I'm sure if you ask the average Metta fan, well, we'll see who Metta fans want to win the cup. But yeah, talking of Valmiera, it's been a bit of a sticky situation again.
Sticky, maybe stinky more than sticky. It's not looking good, whichever way you look at it, and there really is no obvious excuse as to why. Yeah,
it's a bit of a mess. It's a total mess, and it's as a Valmiera supporter, it's a very helpless feeling.
Yeah, condolences to you, and other Valmiera supporters have actually reached out to us on social media to express condolences to you, because I may have told them that you're clinically depressed.
I try and avoid depression as much as possible.
Yeah, Valmiera is not making it easy on you, are they?
Yeah, Valmiera aren't creating the most...
So what happened? Latvian Football Federation, in what now seems to be their communication style, half an hour or during an important game, communicated that they're docking Valmiera further 6 points, bringing it up to 9, because Valmiera never sorted out their financial situation, and they're docking them conditionally further 25 points, subject to them meeting their financial obligations by 1st of November. There does not seem to be a way in the world for Valmiera to be able to meet those financial obligations. I mean, that money went somewhere, but clearly not to Valmiera.
Yeah, there's been a few things written about it.
Yeah, and if they lose further 31 points, that will drop them to position number 9 in the Virsliga, which would be shocking. And plus, I mean, okay, number 9 this year, we can live with that, but then do we even have Valmiera next season? Do they get a license? Which is a big, big question mark. So it's not looking great.
Yeah, it's not looking great at all. It's a very strange ownership. It's a bit of a mess from that side. I think if nobody quite knows what's going on with Valmiera. They're owned 95% owned by FCC International, and then they've got 5% owned by Paulo Urfa, 2 Swiss friends, and something's gone a bit toxic at the top. Their partnership or something's not right.
We'll talk about Valmiera in depth a little bit later, but the point is the club seems to be dry of any cash, and cash is what makes or breaks a business, and if they can't pay salaries to players, to staff, they can't pay taxes. I mean, they're not long for this world then.
Even though they got 2.2 million euros in for Metta and Zalizko,
yeah. Well, I mean, they sold Baladis to RFS to be able to pay some salaries back, and it seems that even not all of those have been settled. Some players have had their salaries settled, others have not.
Yeah.
And nobody knows who or why or when or what's going on, and it's just not looking good. In fact, in a recent interview, Jurijs Kalns, all the way from Cambodia, also expressed disappointment, albeit lack of surprise, with how it's being run, and did urge Valmiera, the people of Valmiera, to rally behind the club and to attempt to save it.
I think it's important. I think that the city needs to get behind it, and the owners need to say, we want this club or we want to sell this club, but don't run it into the ground. Find something to save it and keep the dream alive. They won the league. They've created some of the best players in the Virsliga. They've developed some of the best players in the past, 4 or 5 years. So, fix it, sell it, pay your bills, sort out your admin. I can go into a lot of detail on why and what I think has gone wrong, but are we going to talk about Valmiera a little bit later?
We'll talk about Valmiera in a different episode.
But yeah, I mean, ultimately, I think that the owners have got they specialise in legal. They're a legal firm partly, and a lot of their clients seem to be from Belarus and Russia, and maybe the sanctions are affecting the flow of money as well, based on their clients. But who knows what's happening there? It would just be nice to have some kind of transparency.
You're being charitable, but I mean, if Valmiera can become the first fan-owned club in Latvia, I mean, that would be an interesting development.
I mean, it's one of the most prosperous cities in the country at the moment. There's a lot of good economic development going on there. They're building another industrial area and so on. Valmiera Glass is one of the biggest employers in the country and so on. So yeah, fingers crossed. One area that Valmiera will finish top in this season, do you know what that might be?
The amount of financial penalties?
The amount
of points deducted?
The most points deducted on record. That could be one. Hopefully not, no kind of touch wood scenario, but they might end up with a top scorer in the league, Ndoye. So hats off to Ndoye. Hopefully, come on, at least do something good for Valmiera to ensure they can win something this year.
He's a level top scorer with Ramirez at the moment with 19 goals, right?
19 goals, yeah.
Very impressive. Yeah, well, with Valmiera having had 57 points, 6 deducted, now standing at 51, they are now only 6 points ahead of Auda, which gives Auda, who also have a game in hand, although versus RFS, gives them a real chance to finish third. And last time we spoke that there's no way Valmiera will not finish third. Well, joke's on us. there seems to be they found a way.
Yeah, they found a way. They found a way, and we'll see. Hopefully they won't be deducted 25 points.
Hopefully not.
But it's going to be a close run. I mean, if you're looking...
then with 4 games to play, 6 points is not a lot.
Yeah.
And if they do get deducted, that already pushes Auda to third, and Daugavpils to 4th, which then opens up the exciting possibility of Daugavpils playing in Europe next year.
Yeah, will Daugavpils be able to get a better stadium? Where would European games be?
Just play in Riga like Valmiera have had in the past.
Yeah.
But I mean, Daugavpils have a difficult fixture list and these remaining...
Yeah, we can go on to that. Just a quick point on Valmiera. I mean, it's not looking necessarily that good. Last 5 games, they've picked up 6 points. So, I mean, it seemed that the team, Gaitis Karnins was developing the team for next season, pushing Kawasaki more into the squad and things like that. So suddenly they're going to have to turn things around.
They had this buffer that's not been taken
They've
away.
had this psychological buffer. And,
well, points also.
Yeah. They'd be mid-table now if you looked at their past 10 games. So.
Yeah. Right, and so in terms of the table, what we have is RFS and Riga still at the top. RFS still leading Riga with a game to play versus Auda on the 17th of October. They are followed for now still by Valmiera with 51 points, who are followed by Auda. Daugavpils, Metta have jumped into position number 6 quite suddenly and very impressively. They're followed by Tukums, Liepaja, who are slowly climbing out of the self-made gutters, really. Struggling Grobina and Jelgava, who are all but certain to get relegated this season.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So 159 games have been played out of 180. So it's the final run. The league's 88% complete.
It's 4 match days. It's only 4 match days.
Only 4 match days, and the big finale. And as you say, I think I've done all my analysis. I think the big 6-pointer will be the Metta Grobina game on the 20th. That will really determine the outcome of the league. Metta Grobina, 20th of October. Make sure you tune in for that one. But you never know if Grobina can get their supporters behind them, particularly for the Liepaja derby. Grobina Liepaja, 26th of October. That will be crucial. But Grobina have completely done a U-turn. And I unfortunately predicted that they'd go down, get relegated. So I really hope I'm wrong, because they started the season so well. But every time I've seen Grobina at the Skontor, they haven't done anything. They haven't quite found their formation. I'm not sure if it's the loss of players from Liepaja calling back players. Maybe they signed too many players pre-season, but something's gone horribly wrong for Grobina in the last few games, or even last 10 games.
Yeah, they lost 7 in a row and have the worst form of any squad in the Virsliga at the moment.
Yeah,
by far. And you know when it started?
When did it start?
It started after their cup game versus Levon PPK.
Yeah.
Which they lost 2-1,
yeah,
and have gone on a nosedive ever since, but so have Levon PPK. So a pretty cursed game. Both teams, irrespective of whether they won or lost, have gone on a losing streak since then that they're yet to recover from.
Okay, that's interesting. So clashes of 2 teams that thing. But that was what month was that?
Oh, that was end of summer, end of August.
Summer. Okay. Yeah. So the transfer window was in July.
Was closed. Yeah.
Was closed. Yeah. Well, I believe Grobina have dropped because of the too many player changes. But it's an interesting one.
I don't think it's a logical reason. I think it's the curse of PPK. They just overdid it and cursed themselves alongside.
PPK have lost their stadium. And, that's been
that was the next game. So they've gone over Grobina in the cup. Next game, Riga.
Lost 4-0 to Riga.
Burnt the pitch. Got kicked out
fire.
to RTU Stadium. And have been just they just won their last game versus Rezekne 7-0, but that's
just drifting.
Just falling, drowning, and so are Grobina.
But their manager did win the Unity Cup with Latvia.
Yes, so, congratulations to Juris Žigājevs, who have taken Latvia to Euros, a different kind of Euros, but still, and the Latvia won the UEFA Euro Unity Cup, which is a competition co-organized by UEFA and the United Nations, where teams of refugees representing their host countries compete, and Latvia won with the team of Ukrainian refugees.
Yeah, but I guess if we're sticking to the congratulations, if we're sticking to the Virsliga very quickly, I think, how can you see it finishing now? What's your kind of like predictions? Who's in form and who's not in form?
It's obvious to me that RFS have won the league.
Yeah.
They don't even need to win the remaining games.
No, RFS have conceded just 19 goals, and I forecast they will score 100 goals this season. So that's either saying there's a big problem with the league's defenders and defending. I think it's a worrying affair when the top team scores more than 100 goals. I've not looked at previous season.
Yeah.
But yeah, RFS definitely winning it. Riga FC,
Riga FC is silver.
We don't know what will happen in third.
I think Aude will be in third. I do not see Valmiera raising the money if they haven't yet. So I think they will get the huge deduction. And then who will finish fourth is the main question. Is it going to be Daugavpils, or is it going to be Liepaja of all the people?
That would be a very interesting.
You know why I think it might be Liepaja, which will make zero sense and will make me very, very angry indeed.
Well,
Liepaja
have the easiest fixtures.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Liepaja have Valmiera, Grobina, Jelgava, and Daugavpils.
And they beat Aude 3-0. Which was impressive in the league, and they've got a good sporting director who's come in.
Coach
who seems to be turning them around. They've got an experienced squad that know how to, they've got the second oldest team in the league after RFS. So I think they'll turn it around. Yeah. Whether they make it to fourth.
Yeah, it will be so unfair given what they've been slacking around in number 9 and 10 for all of the season, and then just to shoot up to number 4, qualify for Europe.
Yeah.
Next year is going to be outrageous. But that is very likely because Daugavpils have Riga, Aude, Valmiera, and Liepaja, and they realistically can take points off of Liepaja in this scenario.
Liepaja are going to be a key to the formula of how everything finishes. I mean, they've been pretty much pumped up on steroids since the transfer window or something.
They did lose to the top team, so they lost to Riga and RFS.
They weren't good against Aude in the semi-final. They were appalling. The defending was a joke.
It was so disappointing. So I think the race for the fourth place is still very much alive.
Yeah.
And I think this is going to be extremely exciting. As exciting as who is going to avoid relegation playoffs, especially if Valmiera are dropped down to that position. So it's going to be a very close shave for the teams competing for that. And speaking of close shaves, our friends at Manscaped have some new products that they would like us to tell you about. One of them is the beard hedger that I used.
I saw your beard was looking good
it's less wild than usual. It's a specialist beard trimmer, and it has this very cool size adjustment that I found good and helpful. And of course, there's the Lawnmower Ultra, and they just developed the scalp buffer thing, which we don't have here, but it's a silicone pad that helps you kind of get the circulation flowing in your scalp. It's all very cool stuff. They still continue to impress. You're looking also nice and well shaven.
I had a shave before the podcast with the good old trusty Lawnmower 5 Ultra. So
and you can get their stuff using our discount code LFP20 with 20% off plus free shipping. And it's all been genuinely very impressive, well built, nice and hefty. Feel to it.
Great bit of kit. I generally, it has been a lifesaver, particularly when I'm in a rush. and I need to have a quick shave.
And I finally found something that I'm happy to use on my beard. Otherwise, it'd just be scissors, and that takes forever.
Yeah, you don't want to use scissors on your beard. It's dangerous as well. But moving back to the league, I think Valmiera have had to change their entire defence as well. So that that will be interesting to see how they come through there. But Tukums, they've been looking quite an accomplished team. They had some good loanee from Riga. Was it Vassam?
Yeah.
He's been solid for them. They did lose to Metta 1-0, but I think Tukums are one of the more stable and positive teams.
I'm disappointed in Tukums, and in fact that game against Metta dominated. And Metta are generally looking really well, I think, now, and it's high time they do so. Some of the players they've gotten in through the transfer window, like Grabowski's, a youngster, was called Latvian Messi at one point in time, on loan from Rapid Vienna in Austria. He's still young and green, as he should be playing for Metta, but dangerous, technical, quick. Correa is coming back from injury. Played 12 minutes.
He was making some beautiful runs, some vertical runs, dribbling right across the.
He needs to build a bit of muscle. I feel like he gets pushed off the ball very easily, but he's technical and quick and proactive. And Metta might actually not finish in relegation playoffs for the first time in like 10, 11 years. Yeah,
Metta are looking better than they have for the past few years, and I think they're looking a more complete squad, and they seem to have a bit more of a backbone and a bit more stability.
So usually what they do in the league is they start well, pull off a few surprises, and then over the summer they just kind of nosedive into the 9th place. And that maybe, hopefully, is not happening this year, which is very exciting. To see Metta in like 6-7 position, maybe challenge for that fourth spot for Europe. That would be fun.
We'll see if Metta are a top 5 team. Like I say, you've got the 20th of October, Metta Grobina. That will be a big defining one. As we've mentioned, Metta are constantly improving and boosting their facilities. They've got a great coaching setup. They've got a few Italian, Portuguese coaches, along with Latvians and an Englishman as well. So I think you can see here in the HQ, it's a great place, and there's a good footballing community. So all the best to Metta. Tukums, I think they're doing quite well. They've done all right considering when you compare them to Jelgava, and I saw them against Auda at the Skontor. And that was they were a stable team in terms of their tactics.
Yeah, so that's roughly what's up with the Virsliga. In terms of other developments, congratulations to RFS Women for winning the cup against Riga FC. Riga FC were unlucky to concede an own goal that decided the game, but still, RFS Women win their first Latvian Cup under this name, but 7th cup overall, since RFS Women used to be SFK Riga, which RFS took over this year. And of course, Europa League.
Europa League, but the Women's League is going places at the moment. It's improving.
Developing rapidly.
And it's starting to get a lot more competitive. So that's exciting. And hopefully next season we'll be doing a lot more with the women's football as well.
Yeah. In Europa League, RFS pulled off a 2-2 versus Galatasaray.
I have a memorable programme, but
you were there. It was fantastic.
One of the highlights of the season, the Daugavpils Stadium. That's a sort of love it or hate it stadium, but a bit of rain and so on as well.
Oh, you can't help but love it if the result is as positive as that.
Yeah, and I mean the RFS, like the die-hard supporters, the Riverside Lions, like they filled quarter of the stadium as well. I mean that was impressive. All their banners and flags and the drums. The Galatasaray fans, like notoriously ultra in their beliefs, and it was a special experience. And that's the beautiful thing about European football, the away fans, but also the whole city getting behind the team as well, a little bit.
Yeah, it was fantastic. I mean, that's been covered so much. We'll not talk.
We won't cover it.
It's great,
too much.
But next games are Frankfurt away.
Yeah.
But then 2 back-to-back home games versus Anderlecht and the Greek PAOK. So if you're in Riga, get a ticket. If you're not in Riga, get a flight. Come here, check it out. It's going to be great.
It will be great. I really hope Ajax play in January in the freezing cold in Riga.
It seems increasingly likely that will be the case, but of course it will depend on the weather.
Yeah, and RFS, I mean, they could have honestly beaten Galatasaray, and I think football is not always about how much of the ball you have. It's about how many chances you create and how clinical you can be with the finishing. And talking about, like, if you're looking at statistics, particularly the RFS game, but the Europa League overall, you've got some RFS players in the top, like Yanis Ikoniaks. He's joint first on the most assists in 2 games. He's got a goal. He's also the top scorer in the qualifiers. He's number 1 in the Europa League for the most attempts on target with 5 goals and 5 shots rather, and 5 goals. So I mean the statistics are looking quite high. You've got Adam Mahiev in 6th place for most tackles in the tournament. And then Lipšujek, the Slovenian chap, defender,
that's Liepaja.
Liepaja,
if anyone's confused.
In top 4 for clearances. So RFS are challenging. Bucharest, that game going to Bucharest was a bit of a challenge.
Well, FCSB genuinely look good now, and they've won their 2nd game. But I think RFS were a little bit intimidated by the atmosphere at the time and in the novelty of the experience. I think they will take more points. I hope they will take points off of Dynamo Kiev and Maccabi Tel Aviv.
Yeah. I think they can get points against them. Tel Aviv haven't been doing that well.
And if they win both of those, statistical projections for Europa League said that you only need to get around 6 or 7 points to get in the top 24, which means playoffs. That would be insane.
I think it's achievable, and I think that the Virsliga and players in the Virsliga need to believe, but that it is more than possible to get results against big teams. You've got Niang currently playing it, who went to Riga from Union. He's played 2 games now in the Europa League. Like you've got leading players in this league that have played for teams like Marseille. You've got Clement, for example, at Valmiera. He's been at Marseille, Montpellier. You've got the RFS keeper Anua. He came from Barcelona. Yeah. So all these players have got a lot of youth experience playing for some of the biggest clubs in Europe and possibly the world. So there's no reason why RFS can't be challenging and getting points, I believe. And the Galatasaray game, I think that you've got the Premier League former defenders, Sanchez, where you had Cedric Caudio, 2 assists, completely, nutmegging him and so
many
on.
nutmegs.
So many nutmegs, and there's got to be
so many nutmegs in that game. You'd think it's Christmas.
There's got to be a bit of more. There's got to be a little bit more belief from the players and so on.
You get that with experience, and you did mention youth experience being important, and why we're here today at Metta is because later on Frank is going to talk to one of the Metta Academy coaches about youth systems in Latvia. So we'll find out what that looks like and how. But overall, that's the Virsliga update, and this is how things are looking. There's 4 games left to go, and it's being very excited. So let's see what happens, and then we'll see you for a season wrap-up.
And it's final 100 meters of the season, and it's going to be a really sort of Hollywood finish, I think, particularly that mid-table spot with what will happen with Metta, Tukums, Liepaja, Grobina, and suddenly some things might happen that nobody expected. So we recommend you pay attention.